Yo, what is going on, everyone? It's Wraith here, back with another video. Now, I basically had tons of comments on every single one of my videos asking if these keybinds are good, or what keybinds you guys should use, or is it worth it switching from controller to PC, or that you guys just got a brand new PC for Christmas or your birthday or whatever the case is, and you're making the switch to keyboard and mouse, and basically what to do. So in today's video, I'm going to be making an updated list of things that you can possibly do to help improve the time spent getting used to keyboard and mouse, finding optimal keybinds, as well as actually practicing on keyboard and mouse and getting used to these keybinds. So if you're looking forward to this video, make sure you slap a like button on it, comment what you want to see for a future video, hit that subscribe button, and make sure you use creator code WraithFN in the item shop, and let's get right into the video. So tip number one, or the most important thing right off the bat, is you got to find keybinds that work for you. So a lot of you guys might be like, well, how do I find that? Do I just try random ones, blah, blah, blah? And basically there's kind of a mix of a couple things that you can do. So what I would suggest doing is checking out Jerrian's video on optimal keybinds, and he basically explains what's the most optimal and the best keybinds to actually use that'll give you the best advantage it possibly can. So personally, what I would do is watch that video. I'll leave it in the link in the description after you're done watching this video, as well as find a couple pros that you enjoy watching and see if they have any binds that you like using. So for example, when I first started keyboard and mouse and I went to put on my new binds, I was like, okay, well, what do I want to do? And this was before like optimal binds was a thing and like people realized how important keybinds were. And I just used a little bit of mongrels, bizzles, and tifus, and then I just kind of switched it over with time. So basically I just figured out, I was like, hey, these look good, these feel kind of comfortable, I'm going to stick with these, blah, blah, blah. And then once I figured out Jerrian's video, I just alternated my keybinds just a little bit more, just so I could get the most optimal keybinds, as well as ones that I enjoy. Because obviously having optimal keybinds are extremely, extremely important, but you also want to have keybinds that work and feel comfortable for you, because if they're not comfortable, then they're obviously not going to work long term, and you're not going to want that. So like I said, what I recommend doing is watching Jerrian's video on most like optimal binds, as well as copying a little bit of pros, but don't just copy a pro's exact keybinds. Like, don't just say, okay, I'm going to look up CodeLife's video on Tifu's keybinds and put those exact ones in, and I'm going to be as good as Tifu. That's not really how it works, right? It's better if you find something that's comfortable for you, that works well, that you can actually play with. Because yeah, Tifu's might work for him, but it might not work for you. So now once you figured out what keybinds you want to use, and you're like, okay, these ones work pretty well, is basically start grinding creative. Now, a lot of you guys are probably like, well, can I just hop in a game like I'm in a real game experience? Which, yes, you will get onto that. But at first, when you're not used to it, or you just switched your keybinds, or you just started playing keyboard and mouse, basically what you want to do is just getting creative and start playing by yourself. And you guys might be like, well, how is that helping? I'm playing by myself, right? But what I would recommend doing is just free building, as well as free editing. So do exactly what Mongrel does. Just go in and practice your building. Obviously, you won't be nearly as quick as he will, especially if you just switched and added onto these keybinds. But basically what I recommend doing is just practicing normal cone edits, maybe floor cone edits once you feel a little bit more comfortable. If you can, like maybe in a month, do some triple edits. I doubt you probably guys will be able to, but if you can, hey, go ahead. And just practice free building. Do side jumps, do 90s, just do 180s, like just simple things, box up. Practice editing a cone, practice editing a wall, like just simple things like that you will actually feel way more comfortable with, and you will quickly start to improve if you just keep grinding and creative. So then once you feel a little bit more comfortable, like actually just playing, like feel comfortable building, feel comfortable editing, etc., etc., well, then once you're there, then you want to start fighting people in creative. You want to join some buddies, or you want to find people on Discord, and whatever the case is, and start 1v1ing in creative. You want to start box fighting. You want to start doing a little bit of zone wars if you can. Again, it all depends how quickly you have improved and how confident you feel. If you don't feel confident, just keep free building, or maybe stick with some simple 1v1s or whatever the case is. But trust me, you don't want to hop in straight into a game or straight into arena, because you will not feel confident enough and you will not be that good. So trust me, spend time in creative, improve, play by yourself, then play with some friends, and then we'll make some switches. So now that you've practiced with those binds and you feel a little bit more comfortable, now would be the time to actually make changes. So do you feel like anything just feels a little bit awkward, or maybe you did some more research and you found that having your cone on control instead of shift is more optimal for what your keybinds are right now, or whatever the case is, right? What I recommend doing is right now would be the time to make changes, because it's going to get harder and harder to make the change once you become better and more comfortable with those binds. So right now would be the prime time to make the changes. If you don't feel like you need to make any changes, then you're good. Just don't make any changes. But what I recommend doing is, if you do need some changes, make them now, because like I said, it's going to be harder right later on than it will be right now. So now once you've made the changes, or if you feel like you're more comfortable, you can either go back into creative and practice again, blah, blah, blah. But once you feel more comfortable and you feel like you're ready to go and you feel like you know what you're doing, then this is what happens, is you actually go into a normal game and start practicing. So yes, you've grinded creative, you feel somewhat comfortable on the binds, you made some switches, you made some changes, whatever, you feel good. Now is time to go into normal solo and just practice W keying and getting into as many fights as possible. The biggest thing and the hardest thing, honestly, to get used to is just actually fighting. Yeah, in creative you might feel comfortable and you might be like, okay, well, yeah, I'm good to go. Whatever, like I feel like I can actually build properly, I feel like I can edit properly. Yet when you actually get into a game and you get into those fights, trust me, your muscle memory will feel terrible and you're just gonna panic and you're gonna mess up your builds, whatever the case is. So start grinding just normal solos or normal duos or normal squads with your friends and just practice. Like, get used to actually just playing with those binds, get used to taking fights, and trust me, it will be way better in the long run, instead of just hopping, oh yeah, I'm gonna go right into World Cup qualifier or duo testing event. No, probably not the best idea, right? So actually spend some time just playing normal solos, and then once you feel a little bit more comfortable, then you can get into the arena solos, then you can get into the testing events, and potentially if the cash cups start to come back, maybe get in the cash cups, right? But it's all about getting used to them and feeling comfortable on these binds, or getting used to keyboard and mouse for the first time and getting used to it, because that way, if you're not used to it, you're not going to do that good. So now that you've basically figured out your binds, you've been practicing on them, you've been playing on it a little bit, and you're starting to feel a little bit more comfortable, it's very, very important that, like I said, is you try your best to avoid switching unless you really feel like it's going to benefit you. Like, for example, like I said, a good example would be Mr. Savage M, one of the best players in the world with very, very bad binds. Like, his binds were not optimal at all, like not even close, yet for some reason he still did super, super well, and he didn't change them for months, which is okay. Like, you don't need to change your binds even if they're not that optimal, but it is recommended. Like, even now, Mr. Savage is deciding to switch his binds after that long, just because he decided it is more optimal for him to do it. So yes, you should be switching your binds, but if you can help it, I personally wouldn't switch it that often. Like, maybe do the odd switch here or there, but I would try and stick with your binds as consistently as possible, because then you're just gonna have to relearn everything. You're not gonna feel confident, you're not gonna feel good again, and you're gonna have to go through the entire process over and over and over again until you feel more confident with those binds and you feel like you can actually play properly. So basically the biggest thing is, like I said, is it does take time to get used to new binds, or getting used to like actually making the switch over from controller to keyboard, like a lot of you guys are doing. So trust me, it is taking time, but it is worth it. And like I said, so basically to sum up the entire video is, one, find binds that are optimal as well as work for you. Don't just copy pros. Number two is go into creative and actually practice, and then once you feel more confident in creative and you feel like you can build and edit somewhat, go into creative again and actually practice against fighting other people and opponents, whether it's in zone wars, whether it's in 1v1, whether it's in box fights, whatever the case is. Actually practice fighting. Make adjustments if you need to, like, do you need to switch your cone, you need to switch your ramp, whatever the case is, make adjustments, and trust me, it will help you a ton. Then once you've made those adjustments, start grinding, start practicing in solo, start practicing in arena, start practicing in whatever gameplay you want, just that you feel better in. And then once you get to that level, just try your best to avoid switching your binds, because you're gonna have to redo the entire process. So in my opinion, is it worth it to switch from controller to keyboard and mouse? Right now, probably not, just because controller is pretty good. But I mean, if you guys want to try hybrid, that's what I would recommend doing, because it is pretty OP right now. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Peace out, guys. Have a good one.